Ought to be our heart's desire tonight when we look up and nobody's walking beside us. As long as the Lord's still in front of us, let's just to keep on walking. You ever heard that little illustration that people use talking about walking down the beach? It's you and the Lord, and there's two sets of footprints. And then you go through a trouble and a trial in your life, and you look back behind you, and now there's only one set of footsteps, and everybody wants to know where the Lord went, why they're by themselves, and what they really need to realize is that wasn't when the Lord left them, that's when the Lord picked them up and began to carry them, and that's why there's only one set of footsteps. Sometimes we feel like we're all by ourselves. Nobody's there with us, and those are the times that we need to just settle in and just follow after Him. When it's not popular and nobody else goes with us, we ought to still desire to follow Jesus. All righty, youngins, y'all can head on to class tonight. And our teachers, thanks so much for your effort. I don't tell you enough, but I know I've been there, and I've spent time prepping and preparing when you've got 101 other things to do. So thank you so much for not just going through the motions, but taking the time to prepare and work on that and seek the Lord on what He has for you. I know the Lord will bless you for your efforts, and He'll take care of our kids, and He'll help them in the midst of that as well. If you got your Bible tonight, let's go to the book of Ruth. Ruth chapter number 1 tonight. And I've got to be careful. When I told Sue and I told y'all Sunday night that I was finishing up Judges and Lord willing we'd move on into Ruth, Sue got all excited and said, I've been waiting on you to get to Ruth because I've got a book on Ruth that I wanted to read because it's verse by verse, and I was going to follow that book and see how close you got to the book. So I don't know if she's comparing the rightness of the book to me, which would probably be dangerous. It'd be better to compare me to the book, I reckon. But anyways, I've got big shoes to fill. There's many better men than me that have preached this and written on this subject. But I do want to try to do our due diligence here tonight and see what the Lord has got out of us, or got out of the text for us tonight. Lord willing, we'll be in Ruth chapter 1. We're going to read, let's see here, let's do the first 6 verses tonight. And I want to pull in one more verse, and then we'll go to the house here tonight and see what He's got for us. But in Ruth chapter 1, the Bible says this. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled. Now, I understand Ruth comes after the book of Judges in our Bible, but what is happening in the book of Ruth is actually happening sometime in the time frame of the Judges. Now, I wanted to give you this nice pretty thought behind when that happened, which judge was in office, which one was working, what's going on in the land at that time. So I'm studying on it, I'm looking it up, and the majority of the answers I got said we don't know. So they don't really know. We don't know exactly when it happened. We know it happened sometime during the time frame of the judges. There's some clues in the text that would maybe give us an inkling of an idea, and I'll give you my opinion on that. Some believe it happened in the time of Ehud. Now, Ehud was that judge that went in and was left-handed and stabbed the fat king. Y'all remember that? And he lost his dagger. Some believe it happened during that judge, and I personally side with another individual. He thought maybe this happened during the time of Gideon, because Gideon tells us about the great famine that took over the land, and there's a famine that happens in Ruth. That's why they're leaving. It lines up. I can't be definitive on that, but it does kind of make sense to me. So if you're curious where I'm at tonight, I guess if I had to pick one and you was forcing me, I would pick the one that lines up with the famine there. But anyways, it's not necessarily important to the text. We know this happened during the time frame of the judges. This is not during Moses and Joshua's time, and it's not yet to the time of the kings. We are in the book of Judges still, but we're reading out of Ruth. It says, when the judges ruled, that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man. I love when it says a certain man. It's not just some random individual. This is somebody special that's been pointed out here. A certain man of Bethlehem, Judah. Bethlehem, Judah is just south there of Jerusalem, going to become Bethlehem. Bethlehem, Judah went to sojourn in the country of Moab. Now, if you want to look at your map to know where this is going on, it's pretty simple tonight. Find Jerusalem on your map. Look directly to the right. You're going to see a great sea there, the Salt Sea, the Dead Sea, somewhere real close to that. And if you'll go around the north part of that and drop down to about halfway down the right side, you'll see the territory of Moab. The journey here, if they would have gone straight across the Dead Sea, is not quite as long, but seeing as they more than likely did not do that and they walked, I found that it was somewhere between 50 and 60 miles of a journey to get from Bethlehem, Judah, into the country of Moab. And it wasn't an easy walk. They had to go around. They had to go up some hills. They had to go down some hills. It was a tough journey. They say back then that 20 miles was considered a day's journey. So off of that math there, if it was a 60-mile journey, that'd make 3 days. 3 days doesn't seem like that long, but then when you add in the mountainous terrain they had to go over, it's believed that it took anywhere from 7 to 10 days for them to make this journey. So they've left the nation of Israel, the inheritance in the country of Israel. They have left that territory, gone around the Salt Sea into the country of the Moab, into their land. They have left the good to go to the bad. That's going to be important for our understanding of the text tonight. But this certain man, he went to the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other was Ruth. And they dwelled there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died, also both of them. And the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread. Now, I'd like to preach on the thought tonight of folding a full house. I don't know if we have any card players tonight. I don't know if we have anybody that's ever watched that or seen that. I do enjoy playing cards. I could never put any money to it. 1, because it's wrong, and 2, because I lose. So I don't need to do that. But when you play cards there's a certain hand that's called a full house. Anybody know what a full house is? Nobody knows what a full house in cards is? My goodness, I might ought to play for money. I can play y'all and actually win something if you know what a full house is. That's a joke, okay? So y'all don't be turning your pastor in. A full house in a hand of cards with 5 cards means you got 3 of one card, 2 of another card. It's a pretty good hand. There's one if you got it, you probably don't want to fold. If you fold a hand, it means you give up and you lose. A full house is a good one. You want to hold on to that. And for y'all that don't play cards, never played cards before, have you ever played Yahtzee? Yeah, y'all got a great preacher. He's talking about playing cards and rolling dice, playing Yahtzee here. Yahtzee is the same deal. You can get a full house in the game of Yahtzee. You can play, and it's a board game, okay, so y'all don't be getting all mad at me. But you can get a full house in Yahtzee as well. If you get 3 dice that roll a 6 and 2 of them roll a 5, you got a full house. 6s full of 5s is the way you would call that, a full house. It's a good thing to have. It's a good chance of winning. What Elimelech and Naomi have when they leave out of the land of Bethlehem, Judah, when they leave out of the land of Israel to head over here to the country of Moab, they've got a full house. They've got a good thing. They are blessed. They've got something really good in their life. Go to verse 21 if memory serves, and let me give you this. Verse 21, Ruth 1:21. And I went out full. That's where that word comes from for the full house. I went out full, and the Lord has brought me home again empty. I'll tell you what's happened here in the text. Where they are in the land of Israel here, they are living the life, if I can put it that way. Back then, that's the goal of the families. The husband wants a wife. The wife wants a good husband. The parents there, they both want some children. And after they have some children, they want these children to then have wives. And they want grandchildren. They want some land. They want a place. They want the white picket fence. They want all the American dream. They want all of those things. That's their goal. And where they're at in the land of Israel, they've got it. Things are good for them. They have a full house. Their hearts are full. The home is full. The Bible says in Psalms 127 there, it talks about children being as arrows in the quiver. And blessed is the man who has a quiver full of them. I'm paraphrasing that. You can go back and check me on if you want to. But they're talking about how that their lives are full because of what they've got. Now, Elimelech, he does have some land. He does have a living. He does have some blessings in his life. You'll find in Ruth 4, verses 3 and 4, if memory serves there, you can go check me on that as well, that it comes back and they say that Naomi has got some land that she's selling. That's her husband Elimelech's. They did have land. They had a house. They had each other. They had some kids. They were in a land that was prosperous. They were in a land that flows with milk and honey. They were in a good place until they weren't no more. They had a handful. They had a full house. You know what happens when you're playing cards with somebody and they get a full house? They grin. They ain't supposed to, But they grin because they know they got something good. I believe Naomi and Elimelech right here, they are grinning. They have got something good. They have something going on in their life that is exciting, and they're happy about that. But they're fixing to take that full house, that hand that they've got that's so good, and they're about to fold it and give it up. Now, let me give you a little bit of an analogy, and we're going to preach this, and I believe it'll help make sense to us this way. I've said it before, it's been quite a while. The nation of Israel, go back to the time that we had the Exodus, and there's a great picture, a great illustration here in the text. When God saved his people out of the land of Egypt, preachers all the time equate that or compare that to God getting somebody out of their sin, saving them from the world. Have y'all ever heard that analogy, that termination a little bit? You have, because I've preached it that way. You might not remember it. It's okay. But anyways, when you get out of the land of Egypt, the Lord has pulled you out of that. It's an illustration of leaving the world, leaving sin, and going towards something greater. And then they'll use the illustration that the promised land is supposed to be a representation of heaven. Now, here's where I differ. If the promised land was supposed to be an illustration of heaven, where we go after God gets us out of our sin, that means the promised land would have no problems and no sin in it. Fair? Because heaven has no problems, heaven has no sin. So I would tell you tonight, the promised land is a picture of victorious Christian living instead. The Lord brings us out of Egypt, out of sin, out of our flesh, out of ourselves, saves us, gets us into the promised land where the land flows with milk and honey and everything can be good, but there's a key to that land flowing with milk and honey. You see, we always describe it that way. We say it's a land that flows with milk and honey, but this text says there's a famine in the land. That kind of contradicts, don't it? On one hand, it flows with milk and honey, but there's a famine. When Abraham went, it was a land that flowed with milk and honey. He was down there in the promised land way before the Exodus. Why was he no longer in the promised land? Because a famine hit in the days of Joshua when he was there, not Joshua, Joseph, when he was second in command in Egypt there. A famine hit, and remember his brothers had to come back to Egypt, and they had to get bread, they had to get food from their brother Joseph. So there's a famine there in the text. There's a famine in the text here. Go back to the days of Gideon, there's another famine. You go and you look in the days of Elijah, and there's 3 years with no rain as he's hanging out at the brook Cherith. There is some bad times that happen in the land of Israel. There are some times where I wouldn't say that it flows with milk and honey. It's not that the land itself is so good. It's not that the geography of the land is so great. It's not that it's so lush. It's not that there's so many places to get water and all of that. What makes the promised land such a prosperous place is nothing else besides the presence of God in that land. That's what makes it a land that flows with milk and honey, is the fact that God has set his presence down on the promised land of Israel, on his chosen people. If you think, or maybe you don't believe that, think back to all the times these famines are taking place. Think back to when all of them are taking place. Well, the famine took place when Joseph was in Egypt because God had a plan to get his folks into Egypt there to reunite Joseph with his brothers. Brother Easton, how do you know that was God's plan? Why did Joseph's brothers throw him in the pit to begin with? Because he had visions that all of his brothers and his parents were going to bow down to him. Do y'all not remember that? So they had to go into the land of Egypt and bow down to Joseph so that they could fulfill the dream that God had already sent to Joseph. So before Joseph ever even hit the pit, God already knew there was going to be a famine. His presence was not going to be there. Instead, it was going to be in Egypt with Joseph. Go back and study on Joseph. You'll find that when he's laid down there in the pit, or goes from the pit to the prison, when he's in the prison there, the Bible tells us, I wish I'd have got all this with this off the top of my head here, but you go back and you look at it, there's a portion of Scripture that says, even in prison, even down there in the jail cell, in the dark parts of that pit where Joseph is, the Lord was still with him. He wasn't in the promised land, he was there with Joseph. God left the promised land, went to that pit, went to that prison with Joseph, and when he did, famine struck. Fair? Now what happens all of a sudden when we get a little bit later on in the text and Gideon comes around? This might be the same famine that we're talking about tonight. It might not be. Why did God send a judge? Because Israel had done wickedly in his eyes, so he sent a judge to straighten them out and bring them back into where they needed to be. They were doing wrong. God was not with them in the promised land anymore, and a famine popped up. I tell you tonight that when you see these famines pop up in the promised land, it's almost a perfect example to illustrate when the presence of God has moved from that because they have done wickedly, they have pushed him away, or whatever the case might be. So the reason that there is a land that flows with milk and honey is not because of the land itself. It's because the presence of God is in that land. That's what makes it so special there. It's that communication and that connection there with God. You can go to the biggest, nicest, prettiest church ever. I don't care if there's 2 million people on enough pews fit 1 million. They stack on top of each other. I don't care what it looks like. If God is not there, it will not be a very good church service. The presence of God is what makes it sweet. The presence of God is what makes it convicting. The presence of God is what gets in there and reassures us and encourages us and helps us. Without the presence of God, it cannot be the promised land. Now, I said the promised land is a great picture of victorious Christian living. What do we need, or who do we need to be overly present in our lives if we're going to be a victorious Christian? The presence of God. If He's not on our lives, if we have backslidden, if we are away from Him, if we're not doing right in His eyes, and not that He's taken our salvation, He does not do that, but if He has backed off and said, I'm not supporting you while you go chase after flesh and hell itself, I'm not supporting you in that, when we do that, God removes Himself from us, and victorious Christian living is not there anymore. We will be miserable. But when we come and we humble ourselves, the Lord says He'll come and He'll fix our land. He'll get back in on us. He'll restore us how we need to be. And when that happens and His presence gets back on our life, guess what? We now have victorious Christian living again. So the promised land here is not a picture of heaven. It's a picture of what life can be like. It's a picture of victorious Christian living and how things can be if we're walking hand in hand with God. Y'all cool with that illustration tonight? That makes sense? I didn't mean to go on a 10-minute tangent explaining it. I've actually never preached that before. I should have. It preached good. It's a picture of what life can be when things are going great. So right now, while they are in the promised land, she's got her full house, or Elimelech has got his full house. He's got everything great. They're in the midst of victorious Christian living. But now this famine has got here. So the first thing we do is we fold down that beautiful full house we've got. We fold down all the wonderful things that God has given us. And we leave victorious Christian living. Now, I want to show you some things that happen here. I want to try to encourage us tonight. When things do get tough, the famine does hit. There are problems. We do feel far from God. We feel that our prayers aren't getting past the ceiling. The day has been too long. The bills have been too much. The health has been too bad. The fights have been too rough. Whatever the case might be, when we feel that we have been trampled and stomped on and worked over and we feel like we just can't go on no more, I want to encourage you that that is exactly the time not to jump out of the promised land and go to Moab, but instead to settle in and stay right there. That's not the time to run from God. When things are tough, when things are bad, we ought not run from God. We ought to jump in His lap. Little old Darden, I don't know why she does this, but anytime she messes around and she pinches a finger or something like that, she just runs off screaming. I don't know if she cuts her finger off or if it's just a little old tiny pinch. I don't know, because she's covered it up. She doesn't run the other end of the house. And she hides and she puts it down in the couch cushions, and you say, let me look at it. And she goes, don't look at me. Don't look at me. And I'm like, I don't know what your deal is. I'm trying to help you here. You need to let me see what's going on, because I need to know how bad you hurt. You see, when you're hurting, it's not the time to run from Mom and Daddy. It's the time to run to Mom and Daddy so we can help you. When we're hurting as a church, when we're hurting as a family, when we're hurting as an individual, when our heart is heavy, when we're beat down, when we don't seem to be able to take anymore, when we're discouraged and things are so heavy, that's not the time for us to fold in what we got and run off somewhere else and think it'll be better over there. Because that's not what's going to happen. You see, Elimelech and Naomi here, they're going to leave out, by her own admission, they're going to leave out of the land of promise. The land, yes, is in a famine right now. Yes, it's tough right now. But they're going to leave out of a place where they were full to go into another nation and come back empty. That's her own admission. She says in verse 21, I left out full and I came back empty. When I left, everything was good. My family was with me. Our health was there. Things were rocking right on along. Everything was good. I left full. I expected to stay full, and I expected to go back home full. But when I left that promised land, when the Christian today lives that victorious Christian living and goes somewhere else, it don't matter how full you are. It don't matter if you look like a hobo and you got your little old bag of goodies on the back or whatever. It don't matter how much you carry with you. If you go and you leave this thing called the Christian life, it's going to run out, and you're going to come back empty. Brother Easton, this is Old Testament. You ever heard of the prodigal son? That's New Testament. He went to his daddy, said, Daddy, I'm tired of this. Give me my inheritance. Give me everything that pertains to me, and I'm going to be out of here. Daddy counts it out for him. He gives it to him. He hits the door. He goes into a far country. Things are great. He's left victorious Christian living at Daddy's house. He's gone in the world to do his own thing. He gets out there. He's doing it, living it up, having a great old time until the money runs out. Ooh, this is good. This is good. I didn't think about this until I brought that up either. What happened? You can go look at it if you want to. Luke chapter 15 is where you'll find this. What happened? What did the Bible say took place when the prodigal son left and spent all of his living on, or all of his substance on riotous living? Right after that happens in the text, what takes place? He was eating with the hogs. Why is he having to eat with the hogs? Something happened statewide. Famine. Famine. Come on, I'm trying to help you out here. A famine hit. He left the good Christian place. He left Daddy's house. That's the illustration of God's house, right? It's the illustration of the Father. He's left fellowship with the Father. He's left fellowship with God to go into a far country. As soon as he got out there, guess what hit? A famine. A famine. A famine back in the days of Joseph. One after the other, over and over and over again. I'm going to preach a series on famines now. This is good. They're just lining up perfectly. A famine is hitting the land, and he has gone there to deal with that. And he's had to come back. He left out with a pocket full of money. Had a pocket full of change going, or ring-a-ding-a-ding, or however that song goes. I can't remember. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Jing-a-ling-a-ling, that's what it is. Anyways, he left with a pocket full of change. That's an old song. Some of y'all are going to get mad at me because I probably done messed that reference up. I can already tell. I should be a little worried that y'all know that and y'all don't know some of the other stuff I've asked. I'm kidding. I'm joking around. But no. He left with a pocket full of money. What did he bring back to Daddy's house? Nothing. He came back empty. He left full to go into the far country, to go into riotous living, to go away from the house of God, to go out and do his own thing how he wanted to. And when he came back empty. He came back with nothing. Just like Naomi does. Just like Naomi is going to have happen in her lives. I'd venture to say that she has it even worse than that prodigal son does. Let me give you one of these. I don't know if I'm going to get done here. I'm not going to keep you to 8:30 this week if I can help it. Amen. Thank you, preacher. All right, that's better. She's leaving out full. She tells us in verse 21, I went out full. What was this reason? Why in the world would she leave? If she's sitting there and she is full and life is good and things are going wonderful, why would she leave where things are good to go somewhere where we don't know how it's going to be? Why do Christians today leave the church? Why do they leave the victorious Christian life? Why do they leave their good families? Why do they leave fellowship with their good friends? Why do we leave good, godly things where things are full and we're doing good? Why do we leave something that is wonderful to go over here? I've been asked that question. I've asked myself that question. I've studied that question. I wish I had a great, big, wonderful answer that I could give everybody that we could print on a T-shirt and sell it and maybe pay the whole church roll. I don't know what we could do. But anyway, I feel like it would sell pretty good if I had the answer to why things fall apart or why bad things happen to good people. You ever had that question asked you? Why do bad things happen to good people all the time? Why do good people that have things so well, why do we find ourselves drawn and pulled away from the things of God over here? Why are we leaving it? I would venture to say, I don't know this for a fact, but I feel fairly certain in it, that When we were younger, maybe we were in high school, maybe we were in college, we were probably praying one day that the Lord would give us a good spouse, He would give us some kids, He'd give us a good job, and He'd give us a house. Raise your hand if you ever prayed that before you got it. About everybody in here. About everybody in here. I'll quote Brother Brock on this. He cracked me up when he said it. He was talking about praying for things in advance, and he was encouraging young people to pray for their future spouse. And he said, people all the time ask me how I got such a pretty wife. And he said, well, when I was praying for her, I didn't ask for an ugly one. There we go. Y'all ever watched a movie where the mouth moves and like 30 seconds later the words come out? It's kind of off. We're kind of having that delayed reaction tonight. It's okay. No. We ought to be praying for these things that we want. I believe that Naomi and Elimelech here, they're living out the things that they've prayed for. They're living out their dreams. I've grown up. I've got my family. I've got my land. I've got my job. I've got my youngins. Everything is good. Naomi's own admission here is she is full. I can't handle no more. My glass is full. It ain't half empty. It ain't half full. It's full to the brim. I'm full. I'm happy. Why do people that are full and happy and have so much going for them leave? Why do they fall out? Why do they go away? Why do they quit? Why do we do it? I believe the first reason here tonight that I believe Elimelech and Naomi and Mahlon and Chilion left. The reason I believe that they left tonight, first one, I believe they had some worry. I believe worry pushed them to leave. Because they said there's a famine hitting in the land. Oh, me. I hope it's not too soon to joke about this. If I were to say that there's another ice storm coming, I know. Everybody is shaking in their boots right now. I don't want to hear that. If I was to say another one was coming, all the old timers, you're going to go to the grocery store, and what two things are you going to get? Milk and bread. Milk and bread. Let's go get the thing that molds within a few days and the thing that goes bad just as quick as you can't drink it. I don't know. I don't understand. If y'all have the answer for that, somebody let me know. Please. Please. Because I've been asked that and I don't have a good answer for you. French toast. I always thought the milk was for snow cream, just in case. That's what I thought. But anyways, maybe that and sandwich meat and you can get sandwiches out of it. I don't know. But anyways, go get milk and bread. It's coming. I believe that they saw the warning signs of the famine. They looked out over their field and said, my goodness, we just ain't getting no rain. We ain't getting no rain. The locusts are bad this year. I don't know. The wind blew too much and it knocked down half my corn stalks and they ain't going to grow no more. They saw the signs coming and they worried if God was going to be enough to get them through it. They worried if their faith was going to be enough. They worried if they were going to make it through there. They were worried because where they were staying, it was obvious that trials were coming. And we get to that point where we worry and worry and worry. And we try to do something about it. There's a great theologian. His name is Snoopy, off of the Peanuts. I made a speech about this when I was in junior college for public speaking. He has a little quote, and it says, worrying about tomorrow doesn't fix your problems. It just keeps you from enjoying today. Pretty good, Snoopy. Pretty good. With your little leather aviator cat in your doghouse. It's pretty good. But we worry and we worry and we worry all the time. And if we're not careful with our worry, we will leave where things are going good, all because we think over here might be better. It might be. Naomi and Elimelech, they're sitting here. He's saying over the dinner table, honey, my crops ain't looking good. The water's not there. The wind's broke them down. It's been rough. I think I got some bad seed. It ain't growing. That's if he's a farmer. If he's a rancher, my calves ain't making it. It was too cold and they didn't make it through the winter there. Mama's not milking like she's supposed to. Whatever the case might be, my stuff just ain't doing right. Honey, I am worried. Now, everybody in here tonight, look around. Everybody in here tonight has had somebody in their life, had a time in their life where they were concerned about something, and they went and they talked to a parent, they talked to a significant other, they sat down and they said, I'm worried about this, I don't know how we're going to make it. Isn't that a fun conversation when you sit down and you're looking at the bank statement and you're counting up all the money, and you get down there and you're in the red and you look at each other and say, I don't know how we're going to do it. We've had those conversations. I don't know how we're going to do it. But when me and Sue decided and the Lord told us to take the church, we looked at each other and said, what have we done? What have we done? We don't know how to pastor. All we know how is to try to love folks, try to help them get closer to the Lord, and that's what we're trying to do. And we might be doing a terrible job at it, but if we are, no, we're trying to help you get closer to the Lord. We're trying to love you to the best of our ability. That's our goal. What have we done? We don't know how we're going to do it. When things come up in the church, and folks have got to vacate positions or things like that, what are we going to do? We're worried about it. We're praying about it. We're laboring over it. How are we going to do this? What's going to happen? How's it going to work out? And if we're not careful, we'll drive ourselves insane, or we'll dodge the situation altogether and we'll just get over here. We'll get over here. We played a game with the youth kids at this. You know, I do the PE class, recreation class at the little homeschool co-op that we do at Locust Grove. And one time we did, I don't know what I called it, live action battleship, I guess you could call it. But I put a curtain stand up in the middle and had a curtain where you couldn't see either side of it. And I had kids sitting there with chairs facing away, and I gave them like a dodgeball, and they had to throw that ball over the curtain and see if they could hit somebody. And it's so nerve-wracking because I made them close their eyes or they couldn't see if they was going to get hit or not. And when I told them, hey, they're fixing to throw, as soon as that person would throw, it never failed. One or two of them would get up out of their chairs and they would run. The ball wasn't even making it over the curtain because they were terrible at that game. It took us forever to finish a game of Battleship. I was about to the point of cheating and just hitting kids and saying it was them that did it so we'd get done with it. They were terrible at it. The ball's nowhere near them. It's not going to hit them at all. If it did hit them, it wasn't going to hurt them at all. It's a foam dodgeball, but just the thought of what might happen was enough for them to tuck tail and run. Naomi and Elimelech. It looks like there's a famine coming into the land. It might get bad. We might ought to load up and get out of here. Worry. I believe worry pushed them to leave. You know what worry is? Can I give you a definition of worry? Worry is the absence of faith to me. If I'm worried that when I die I'm not going to heaven, that means I don't have faith in what Jesus did for me. A lot of times, if you'll break it down and look at it, worry and faith are almost opposites of one another. If I worry that chair is going to hold me when I sit in it, that means I don't have any faith in that chair. Worry. We get so worrisome and we worry that we're not going to make it through. We don't have enough faith that God is going to take care of us in that. I believe worry made them go. I believe another reason for leaving was weariness. Weariness. I believe Elimelech and Naomi were having one of those bedroom discussions that all of us parents have had to do after the kids go to bed. You finally get that 5 minutes of peace. And then you get in the bed with your spouse and you're talking, and me and Sue quite often will be up at 11 o'clock at night just talking things out. Things about our home and our lives, and things about the church, and praying and figuring out what we're going to try to do and what the Lord have us to do on some things. But we'll sit there and we'll have these conversations about a big trial, a big storm, a big famine, or something that is coming our way. What are we going to do about it? And in the midst of that conversation, a lot of times we always talk about just being tired. Just being weary. So what did I buy yesterday? Because I told you I was hoping I was going to get some better sleep because I needed some better sleep. What did I buy yesterday? I went and got me some vitamins. I've officially made it to the old man stuff. I got me some one-a-day men's multivitamins. Yeah, I know. Huh? They don't help if I don't take them. Let her see, I done took 5 of them in 2 days. I'm just kidding because I can't do that either. She'd get mad at me. She threw my other vitamins away. I said, why did you throw my vitamins away? She said, because they expired 4 years ago. It's obvious you weren't taking them. It's fair enough. Fair enough. I told her, said, Sue, I'm just weary. I'm just tired. I just need to get a good night's sleep through the night. We don't sleep good. We got last night, Darden ended up in the bed. I don't even know when she gets into bed anymore. Dogs barking. My rooster thinks that midnight is actually sunrise sometimes and decides to crow. One of these days he's going to find himself in the pot. We'll see if he can crow then. Y'all don't call PETA on me either. DHS and PETA done got their sights set on me now after all my comments. I better not say anything about taxes. The IRS will have me too. Them all come after me. I'm sure I'm already on ATF's watch list and FBI and everything else for all the guns and stuff I buy too. I'll be fine. All these three-letter agencies are good for me, man. Yes, keep me on my toes. But I don't sleep good. So I'm tired. I just need a break sometimes. She asked me when I was doing Monday. I was off work. She'd asked me last week, said, what are you doing Monday? I said, I'm telling everybody else I got something to do, and I'm sitting at the house and I'm not doing nothing. So what I do? I sat at the house and I did nothing. I watched my two kids so Sue could go do something. Went on the cruise ship, and she was worried. Of course, both the kids had the flu while we was on the boat. So we were taking turns. I'd be in the room, but she'd go do something. She'd come back, and I'd go do something. And she finally said, you just don't want to do nothing. I said, you're exactly right. Sometimes I just want to not do nothing. I'm weary. I'm tired. Elimelech would look at that field and say, I could go up that row, and what normally would give me 3 or 4 bushels a row, I might get half a bushel because it looks so pitiful. It's not even worth my time. The outcome don't look good. I can work and work and work. I can get up early. I can stay up late. I can put my best into it. I can give 110% every day. But at the end of the day, I look at it and say, what I got just ain't enough. I feel like I'm in a rut, and I'm just going forwards to go backwards, to go forwards, to go backwards, and I ain't going nowhere. I ain't doing nothing but burning up the gas. You ever feel that way? I'm just not doing nothing, no matter how much I put into it. Lord, no matter how much I pray, no matter how much I study, no matter how much I witness, no matter how much I do, no matter how much effort I put into it, I feel like nothing is going to work. I feel like Elimelech or Naomi are right there. The famine is coming on. All the crops are getting worse. When the crops are getting worse, that means your supply is going down and demand is staying where it's at, which does what to the price? Goes up. If everybody's crops are going bad because of the famine, then what little crops did make it are worth more money. Guess what you don't have if you can't sell your crop? You ain't got no money. So now their crop is terrible, or the animals, or whatever they got, where they're living is, it's in a bad place. And since it's in a bad place, they ain't got enough of it to trade. They ain't got enough of it to sell, or they can go buy for their own. They're saying all the work, all the labor, all the time, all the effort that I put in, it's worn me down. I'm wearisome. I'm ready to give up. I'm ready to throw the towel in. I'm ready to just tuck tail and run and go to another country. That's a reason to leave for them. They could have left because of their worry over the situation. They could have left over their weariness over the situation. Let me get my last one here, and I'm going to be done. I got to hurry. If I'm going to keep my promise, I got to hurry. All right. Get one more drink of water. Get fueled up for this last one. They could have left for their worry over the situation. They could have left because of their weariness in the situation. Or it could be they left because of the worthlessness that they felt about themselves. Can I tell you the heaviest weight that any daddy in here has ever had to carry? That he can't give his family that he wants to give his family. That will wear you out. And all you men in here, y'all might not want to admit it out loud, but you've had that thought. You've had that thought. I don't have enough money to put my wife in the car I want to put her in. I don't have enough time to spend it with my kids the way I want to. I don't do this. I don't do that. I just feel like I'm not of any worth to anybody. I wonder if Elimelech felt that way about his life. All I've done, Lord, is I've tried to plant my crops, or I've tried to keep my animals, I've tried to keep up my little plot of land, my parcel that I've got. I've tried to provide for my family because you told me to do that. You've told me to provide for my family. It's one of your commandments. Onto the man of the house. It's my job. I'm trying to lead them spiritually. I'm trying to be everything I can be for them, but I'm worried about the future. I'm weary for all I'm doing, and because of that, I'm not making any ground, and I look at what I've done, and it's worthless. That ain't a fun place to be, is it? When you look at everything you've done, and you think, my goodness, it's all been a waste. It's all been worthless. Looking at this trial coming my way. Oh, me. All right, y'all. I know it's early. Y'all bear with me. When the ice storm was coming, everybody prepared for the ice storm, right? Brother Bob took care of our parsonage for us. He went over there and he put those little insulated caps on the spigots outside to try to keep things from freezing up. We're trying to take care of it best we could. And in spite of our preparations and all that we did, guess what happened? The pipe still burst. And I bet when that happened, Brother Bob probably had the thought, well, that was a waste of my time to go up there and put those things on there. Now, I'm not putting words in Brother Bob's mouth. I'm just telling you what I would feel. Maybe he's a lot more spiritual than me, but I would have felt that way. Or you just picked up all the sticks in the yard and you cleaned them up real good, and the ice storm come through, and now it looks like 3 tornadoes was doing the tango on top of your yard, and everything is on the ground. Y'all got it cleaned up yet? Me neither. Me neither. I don't feel as bad anymore since y'all ain't done it neither. If you have, you're an overachiever, and your spouse, I'd give you a big old wet smooch on the face. Just pay somebody. I'm trying to help you out over there. Insurance, I like it. Maybe I should have done the same thing. Maybe I ought to throw a couple more on the roof of the house and see if I can't get something else out of them. Insurance fraud, come after me now. Get in line. See, I'm doing this for y'all. They're too busy watching me to watch any of y'all. You're welcome. No, they could have left because they were worried about the situation. They could have left because of their weariness. And they could have left because of the worthlessness that he felt and that she felt. Lord, all we want to do is provide for our family and give our family the absolute best. But all I've done, all of my work, 110% of my effort, every dollar I've got, blood, sweat, tears, everything I have, I've put it in there. I've took my heart out and I've laid it on the line. I've give you everything I've got. I put everything I got into this place. I put everything I got into what you provided for me, into the call that you put on my life, the church you've given me, the family you've given me. Lord, I put everything I got into it. And you look up, and you can't do enough, you feel like. And you feel like all you put into it was worthless. Worthless. You ever been to an arcade before? Remember when you could still go to the Tupelo Mall as a family and not be on a freak show? Mom and Dad used to carry us, and we'd go get some pizza from Sabero, or however you say that. Whatever, nobody can pronounce it right, but you go get pizza at that pizza place in the mall that everybody knows. And we'd go sit in that corner right next to the Timeout Arcade. And Daddy would give both of us like $5, $10, something like that. So we'd go get our tokens. Me and Trey, we'd go in there, and we'd have a big old time. And there was one machine in there that I always liked to look at, but I never won it. It was the one that's got all the tokens sitting on it, and it's got that little thing that's pushing, and it comes back, and it pushes a little bit more. Y'all know what I'm talking about? And you set that little token in there, and it falls on that empty spot, and it pushes, and all them tokens get a little bit closer to falling off the edge. And I'm sitting there thinking, they're so close to falling. I could put like 3 in there, and I could get 50 of them back. If you've never been to arcades, you ain't got a clue what I'm talking about. That's okay. But look it up sometime. I'll send you a video. We might play one Sunday morning or something. They really think we got it going on. I done talked about poker. I done talked about rolling dice. I done talked about insurance fraud. Now I'm talking about putting tokens in the machine. Y'all better pray for me. I'm going downhill quick. But anyways, you put your token in there, and it falls on this little tray, and it pushes. And you put another one in there, it pushes that one a little bit further. And the more you put in there, the closer all them tokens get to falling off the edge. When they fall off the edge, they all go into the basket, and you win them, okay? So the idea behind it is, if she puts 20 in and I put 20 in, Brother Bob puts 20 in, eventually somebody's going to put that last token in there, and it's going to be too much, and when it pushes, it's going to all fall over, and you're going to win a lot. When I was little, I would sit there, I would play some skee ball, I'd play maybe some of these other little games, and I'd sit there and I'd look at that, and I'm like, man, I'm running out of tokens. I'm going to go put everything I got into that machine and see if it's not enough to get all of it to fall over so that I can win. And I'd put one in, and I'd watch it, and it'd get close. I'd put another in, and I'd watch it, and it'd get close. And I'd do it, and I'd do it, and I'd do it, and I'd run out of tokens, and that last one, when I'd get there, I'd say, this has got to be it. And I'd put that last token in there. Everything I had nothing left, I had nothing in reserve. This has got to be enough to get this thing to fall, to get this situation to break over to where I can come out of this thing on the good side. And I'd put that token in there and it'd push up next to all the other ones and they wouldn't fall. And I'd feel worthless because I put everything I had into it and got nothing out of it. I believe Elimelech and Naomi probably felt that way. Lord, we're fighting a losing battle. Lord, we know the storm's coming. We know the famine's coming. We know hard times are coming. We're worried about it. We're weary because we've done everything we can to prepare for it. We can't make it work. And Lord, now we just feel worthless because all of our attempts, our best efforts was not enough. Everything I put into it is not enough. All the tears, all the labor, wasn't enough. When you look at it, and feel so worthless and downtrodden, and eventually they just say, you know what? Let's just leave. Let's just leave. Let's just go to another country. Let's just pack it all up. I was messing with Brother Chris. We was talking about all the limbs in our yard and things we need to clean up. He didn't respond back to my last message, I don't think, because he's probably thinking the same thing. He said, I've still got days left or whatever. I said, I'm thinking about just selling my house and letting the next ones clean it up. Because everything I'd done wasn't enough. All the efforts, all the trouble, all the sweat, all the blood, all the tears, it's not enough. I wonder if any Christians ever get that way. Lord, I'm going to church, I'm serving, I'm praying, I'm doing the best that I can. I'm trying to live for you. I'm waiting for when you answer my prayers. I'm staying faithful. I'm doing everything I got. But I look at the trials that are coming. Lord, this is the third month in a row that I'm afraid we're not going to pay our bills. Lord, this is the second, third year in a row that I've been praying for our kid that's not saved to get saved. And it still ain't happened yet. Lord, I just don't know if it's going to happen. Lord, I can see the famine and I feel like I'm getting choked out by it. I'm worried about it. I'm worried for the situation in my life. I feel like everything I've done has been worth nothing. I think I'm just going to leave. I think I'm just going to quit. Lord, I'm going to quit tithing because I could use that extra money. Lord, I'm so weary. I'm so tired. I'm going to quit coming to church because that's one more day that I could rest. Lord, I'm just going to quit praying because I've been praying for years and it ain't working. It's just worthless. Anybody ever been there? If you're honest tonight, you'll agree with me. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in what we're going through. There's no shame in being down. Is that not what Jesus asked on the cross? My Father, why hast thou forsaken me? Wow. We get to that point, do we not? But I want to encourage you here. I'm not going to preach it tonight. Obviously, I ain't got time. They go into this far country and that full house that they got, all those blessings, all the wonderful things they've got. When they leave out to try to run away from the famine, that's when the damage happened. It happened when they got over here, when they got out of that victorious Christian living, when they got out of all those good godly habits, when they got out of giving everything they had to God. That's when things went sideways. I'm going to spoil it a little bit, but that's when Naomi loses her husband. That's when Naomi loses both of her baby boys. That's when Naomi loses one of her daughter-in-laws. That's when Naomi has to say in verse 21, I went out full, and now, Lord, that I'm coming back empty. Brother Easton, you saying she should have just stayed and dealt with the famine? Let me say this, and I don't want to sound insensitive. When things are tough, things are hard, you're weary, you're worrying, you feel everything you've done is worthless. When we're at that point in our life, that is the exact time that we need to buckle down and stick with God. Stick with what He's got for us in our life. So let me ask you a question. If the famine was too bad to survive, then why was Boaz and everybody else still there in the land of Israel when Naomi came back 10 years later? It was a lot worse on the looking side of things than it really was when it got there. We didn't got the faith. We don't have the energy. We don't have what it takes to stick it out when things are bad. We'll just run from it and go somewhere else. But the ones that stuck, the ones that stayed there, the ones that stuck out through that famine, they survived it. And it's Naomi that's going to come back from that far land, broken and empty. She went out with a house full. She comes back broken, empty. And we know the story of old Ruth there. How does she end up meeting Boaz? She's in his field, right? Because they're starving, and she's going behind the pickers of the field. And the stuff they drop on the ground, she's picking it up and putting it in the basket. And that's what her and Naomi are using to eat and live. She went out with a full hand, a full house. But she folded it when she left out of God's house, when she left out of Victorious Christian, and when she left out of God's promised land. And because of that, she came back home empty. Let's all stand tonight with heads bowed and eyes closed.